Hi everyone, this is Anson from AnsonAlex.com, and today I'm going to be presenting a full-fledged tutorial on using forms in Google Docs. Forms are great for giving quizzes, surveys, or just pulling some information from people that you might want to use at a later date. It's a feature of Google Docs that not too many people are aware of, and some people are just afraid to jump in and start using, but it's not really that hard. So I hope this helps. Once you're done, you may want to take a look at some of my other Google Docs tutorials. Other than that, enjoy! Okay, so here I am in Google Docs, and in order to create a form, I'm just going to start how I would create any normal document in Google Docs. I'm going to go over here to the left, I'm going to click on the big red Create button, and from the list, I'm going to choose Form. You'll notice that it opens up in a new tab, so you still have access to your Docs list. And the first thing we're going to want to do is give this form a name. This name will be visible to whoever is filling out the form, so you might want to call this Quiz 1. And now down here, I can go ahead and give some instructions to the user that's filling out the form. So I can say, fill this form out to the best of your knowledge. And then we can go ahead and we can start entering questions. Now you have multiple options when you enter a question in a Google Docs form. You can see that we have this question type option, and that way we get to choose what the answer will be. Will the answer just be text? Will it be a lot of text? That would be paragraph text. Is it a multiple choice question? Can they choose multiple answers? Do we want to use checkboxes? Do we want them to choose the answer from a list? Do we want a scale, say 0 to 5? Or do we want a grid, a matrix type question? So we'll take a look at most of these answers, and we'll just see how it changes the way it looks on our form. So we'll just call this sample question 1. We can leave it at that. I don't want to spend too much time with the details here. I want to really show you the functionality of forms. So if I choose this as a text answer, then you can also see that we can make this a required question, so it would not let them submit the form unless they gave an answer for that question. I do that for most of my questions because you don't want the person to just forget and then you don't have an answer to that question. So you can see if I'm done with this question, I can just hit done. And now you see that there's already a sample question 2 on here. To edit that, I can just click on this little pencil icon on the right. I'm not going to choose paragraph text for this question. All it would do would make a bigger text box for me. It's pretty self-explanatory. But let's take a look at multiple choice. So if I choose multiple choice, you see that I can go ahead and I can add the options. So I can just call this answer A. If I want to add a second one, I can say answer B, and so forth. Answer C, D, however many you want. And then you could also add an other, as you can see right here. So that would give them a text box to enter their own answer without choosing one of the choices that we've pre-configured for them. We can make this a required question, and we can hit done. Now if I want to add another question or even anything to this form, I'm going to go up here to the top left where it says add item. And you'll notice that I can add a new question, or I could also add a section header or page break. So I'm going to add a section header first here, and I'm just going to call this part 2. So as the person's filling out this quiz, they will answer the first 2 questions, and then they'll see that they're now entering part 2. We could enter a description in here to explain how part 2 is maybe different from part 1 if you would like. Then I'm going to go ahead and hit done. I'm going to show you this form at the end so you can see how it all looks to the end user. So now I'm going to go ahead and add another question. I'm going to hit add item, and this time I'll choose a checkbox question. So I'll just call this checkbox question. It's not giving me a question title for me anymore. And I can go ahead and I can enter my values that I would like available for the user. So this could be, again, answer A, answer B, and you can use the tab button to actually go down to the next option, answer C. Again, I don't want to get too involved with the details here. I can make this a required question and hit done. Now another cool thing you can do with forms is you can actually make them multiple pages, so maybe you don't want the user to have to keep scrolling all the way down the form while they're filling it out. So I can go up here to add item, and I can say I want a page break. So now they're going to have to submit the first page and move on to the second page. What's the second page called? I could just call this test part 3, since we already have a part 2 as a section, and again I could add another description. I can hit done, and now you'll see that even on this editor view of the form, I can see that I have 2 pages. So now I could go back up here to add item, and this time I could add choose from a list. I can call this list question. And again, I have options to enter as the answer. So I could say, answer A again, answer B, answer C. You'll see how this looks different from the other questions when we look at the final version of the form. Go ahead and make this required, and then I could hit done again. Go back up to add item. This time I could choose a scale. So I get to, when you do a scale question, you get to choose what the scale is. So you can say 1 to 5, 0 to 5, and you can go all the way up to 10. So maybe I want 0 to 5, and I get to add into my scale, what does 0 mean? I could say not sufficient. And 5 I could say means excellent. I could make this required, and I'll just call it a scale question. Go ahead and hit done. Now I'm going to go back up to add item, and I'm going to add our last option, which is a grid, which is a little bit more difficult to understand exactly how it works, but you can see you have the columns, which are going to be going across the top, and then you've got your rows, which are going to be going down the side. So this would be an option, a question where people could choose items from a grid and actually put answers into that grid. So let's take a look at this. Grid question. We'll just call it, we can leave it columns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I can make it row A, B, C, and D. So we'll go ahead and we'll make this required, and then we'll hit done. So now let's go ahead and let's take a look at what our form looks like to the end user. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this form. And to actually view this form, what I need to do is I need to go back to my Google Docs, and I need to click on the form in my documents list. And what it's going to do is it's going to open up a spreadsheet. This spreadsheet is going to be where the user's answers are going to go. I'm just going to dismiss this. So when a user fills this out, we'll see their answers in here. Now for me to view the form, I need to go up to this form menu and hit go to live form. When I do that, you'll see now I'm presented with the form that we just created. So I can just enter my answers here. These are required, so I have to pick something. So there's my check, my radio dials. I can't select multiple choices for this question, but for this one I could. You can see I could select A, B, and C. Here's our section header we added. Now, since I made it 2 pages, I have to hit continue to go to the second page. And you can see I have a list question, so I can choose my answer from the drop down. I have a scale question where I can pick which number on the scale the question answer would be. And then here's my grid question, so I could choose from the grid which option would be the best answer for whatever the question is. So those are all the different question types you have. When I hit submit, I have to choose an answer for every row on the grid question. I forgot, I don't use that one too much. There's only certain situations where that type of question is really needed, so I don't use that too much, so I apologize for that. But I have to choose an answer in each row. But you'll see, because I made it required, it told me that I still needed to fill it out. So that's what making a question required does. It doesn't allow the user to submit until they filled it out. I hit submit, and you'll see that my response has been recorded. I can go back to my spreadsheet version, and here are my answers that I just filled out. Now the last thing I want to show you is how you can send this quiz to people. So I'm here in the spreadsheet version, and if I want to just email this quiz to one specific person, I can go right up here to form, and I can say send form. When I do that, a box is going to pop up, and it's going to ask me who I want to send it to. So I could just send it to my email address that I'm using for this example. And I can go ahead and hit send. Now the problem is that if I try and send that email to multiple people, only one person can fill out the form at once, and it gets kind of clunky. So I'm going to show you a little secret here, how you can send this form to as many people as you want, and they can all fill it out at the same time. In order to do that, we're going to go up here to form, and we're going to go to this embed form in a web page. This is also how you could embed it in a web page. If you had a website, you could put this iframe into your website, and then anybody who goes to that page could fill out the form. But if I want to send this to multiple people, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this whole iframe code, because I can't select a certain part of it, and here I have to copy the whole thing. So I just hit copy, and I'm just going to go to cancel, and I'm going to go to an email. Let's see if I find my Gmail here, and I'm going to compose a new message. So I hit compose, and you'll see that if I paste this iframe in the message, Now I don't need this whole iframe in an email. I just want to send them the form. So I'm going to delete this beginning part. All I want is this address right here. So I'm just going to delete out the beginning, and I'm going to delete out the end. And if I send this address to as many people as I want, they can all fill out the form at the same time. So that's a little hint there for you. And just to show you, I'm going to discard this message. Here's the form I sent myself, so I can actually fill it out in my email, just like I did in our example. So that's a quick lesson on using Google Docs forms. I hope it helps. If this video did help at all, I would really appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up button. And if you want to see more tutorials on Google Docs and just technology in general, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube page. That's all I have for you today. This is Anson from AnsonAlex.com.